Okay, so I'm going to be looking at gold specifically. I'm going to be looking at the gold futures and GLD. We have finally popped through this 6-year downtrend line, and that is really big news for gold. And if you haven't seen my other videos, I've gone over this trend line and the multiple attempts that we've had to try and break through it. But just brief little overview. You can see we pinned off of it once, twice, a few times right in here. Once recently this year, and we actually 2 weeks ago broke through this trend line that I have drawn. The next week, we kind of, it's this candle right in here, we kind of continued that rally, but not by much. We popped much above it and right below. So this week was a big deciding factor if we were going to then drop back below it, or if we were going to rally ahead. And if you see my other videos, I was feeling pretty good that gold had a chance to run upward. Once we broke through that 1350 mark, it wasn't exact at 1350 on the price of gold. It was more of a resistance zone. It wasn't a specific price. And the reason I say zone is because not only was 1350, so right in, if I can find it, right in here, not only was 1350 resistance, but as we had this downward trend line, we also saw resistances right in here. So right around 1364, these top wicks right here, so right in the 1360 range, but 1350 was a big one. We struggled with it back at the early stages of this year, and we have finally broken through. And if you remember what I had talked about in my other videos, was that once we break through that level, there isn't really a whole lot of resistance until we get up to the $1,400 mark, which is right where we saw this initial top back 6 years ago. And it was roughly $1,400, and so from anywhere from 1400 to say the top of this wick, so 1425 is going to be our next resistance zone. And the real catalyst for this is the dollar index being down, but I'll get to that. I'm going to go ahead and move it into a 4-hour chart. And I'll just briefly go over what I was talking about in the previous video. So my last gold update, I was talking about this pop that we had here. And if we could consolidate around 1330 was where I wanted to see us consolidate, and my support zone below it was 1320. If you look back just a ways, I don't know if it will show on the 4-hour chart. Okay, so yeah, it will. So my 1320 mark came from right in here, so we topped a few times around 1320, but these higher tops were right around 1325, and that is just where the buyers stepped in when we were traced back down from these highs. Ever since then, we kept making these higher highs, and eventually this evening we popped and we actually hit 1397 and some change, so we almost made it up to $1,400 just this evening, and that is quite a large move, especially with the fact that gold has been under so much scrutiny over the past few years, that it's just been on a decline, but now we are really starting to gather some steam. So this is really significant in the gold market. So as we move forward into tomorrow and the remainder of the week, what is it that I am specifically looking at for the price of gold? I'm not sure that we will see this gain so much momentum to push through $1,400 tomorrow, just because I think that people who have been holding this, maybe from down in the 1280 range, will begin to take some of their profits off the table and wait for a consolidation. That is going to be, what I would look for. So maybe we come back down to this 1360 range. So we see something like this. We come back down to this 1360 range. So we gather some support right in here where we saw these tops, and then we take a run back for 1400. I think that would be a pretty safe play, but we could see this roll into tomorrow if the dollar continues to decline. We could see this pop right through this $1,400 mark, but again, there will be resistance in there from the top of the 6-year trend line that we saw, right in that $1,400 to $1,425 range, so just keep that in mind. I'd like to see us hold this 1360 level if we come back down, consolidate, and then rise back. So I said that this is due to the dollar decay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up for you. And I can try and pull them up side by side. It's kind of hard to see, but maybe we will be able to, be able to see the correlation that I am looking at. So we'll go ahead and pull up gold on the right-hand side, and we'll switch this over to the 3-year weekly, and also move the dollar index to the 3-year weekly. So right here, let's get these squared away. So it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to go ahead and remove these trend lines so it's a little bit more clear as to what it is that I'm trying to show you guys. So as we see the dollar index rise, the price of gold normally sees a retracement, and that is exactly what we're seeing here as we correlate these two charts. So as we saw the dollar index rise all the way up to 103, almost 104, we saw gold hit its lows, and that was near the end of 2016, moving into that was moving into 2017. So you can see the top right here and the bottom right in here. And then, gold started to gather some steam and move upward and upward and upward, hitting highs right in here around September, and that is right around where we saw the lows for the dollar. And then the dollar gained a little bit of support by the end of that year. But you see what I'm getting at, as the dollar index falls, we're seeing the price of gold move higher and higher. So with that being said, one way that you can just gain more information on the trade that you're wanting to do with gold is look at the dollar index. And so you can see this channel that I have formed right now on the dollar index, and you can see this this current week, how red we are with this candle. It's a pretty big candle, and right now we're trading at the bottom of it. But we are also coming up on the bottom end of this channel. So, we could see a little break below it, and then buyers step in and push this back up, and hopefully rally a little bit. And, I would not be surprised with that. That would bring the price of gold back down to consolidate slightly, and then see another push back up to 1400. But if the dollar were to continue to fall, and we saw it break through this channel, that would be very bearish for the dollar, but very bullish for gold. So just keep that in mind. Look at both prior to entering a trade, either long gold or short gold. Just keep that in mind as one more indicator to keep you confident and knowledgeable on the trade that you are doing. So let's go ahead and now that we've gone over that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up GLD. So this was what I specifically went over some levels on when I was talking about gold, because this is what I am trading. And I believe if we move in close here, the last video I made was right in here, right around I think it was around the 7th through the 10th of June, so just about 9 days ago. I made the video and I was talking about some levels that we wanted to see. The first support level being right around here at 125. If we were to break that, down here at 123.40, and then down here at 122, and the lowest being 120. And I said as we approach these levels, if we did, I wanted to look at what the buyers and sellers were doing as we approach these levels. And you can see that there was a good amount of confidence when we broke this 125 level. Buyer stepped in. This is on the 4-hour chart. Buyer stepped in pretty quickly and moved the price back up. And it's relatively the same as the gold futures chart. And you can just see how we pushed up and up and up, and this has been after hours trading. As we saw gold close in on $1,400, we saw GLD really just roll on through. And if you recall, as far as resistance zones went for GLD, I spoke on the 128 level would be first, and then the 133 level would be second to get through. And as we approached this 128 level, we saw signs of sellers. We saw the signs of resistance, which I was talking about. And we pulled back down, but we didn't make lower lows. We didn't come back down to this 125 mark. That was a good sign. We consolidated right around these moving averages here on this 4-hour chart, and then we pushed higher, consolidated again, dropped back down, and now we have popped. So again, as I spoke on gold moving back down to the 1360 level, maybe prior to pushing through 1400, look to see if GLD also pulls back down right in here around this 128 level. I'm not saying that it'll go through it, but we might see a good pull down on people taking some profits from this nice little run. I mean, just after hours, we're up about 2.5%, which is pretty impressive. Oh, excuse me, hold on, we closed right in here. So, I mean, we made it all the way up around 130, so we're up about 1.2%, but on the day, we're up roughly 2.5%, so you might see some people starting to take some profits just to be safe. But let's pull this back out to the 20-year weekly chart so we can look at the next levels if we continue to see GLD push higher. So we broke through the 128. This chart right here is not showing the after hours movement up to this 130 level that we were seeing. But if we continue through the 130 level, I'm going to go ahead and revise this and say that if we get up to 131, we might also see some resistance on this top right here. So if we get up in this zone, we might see some sellers, taking some profits, maybe trying to bring the price of gold back down. But again, let's look at 131, then 133 off of this top, and then these highs right in here around 136 to 138. That would be what I'm looking for. And as far as support goes, I'm gonna say the 128 that we were talking about. Now that we've popped through, if we come down to 128, I want to see buyers step in there. I don't want to see us come all the way back down to the 125 level. That would show signs that this really wasn't a really healthy move up in gold if we came all the way back down to the 125 level, but that could be a possibility. So, anything is possible in this market, so we just need to pay attention and see what the charts are telling us, and also paying attention to the news. But gather the information that you need and have a trade completely set up where you're going to get in, where you have a stop loss, and where you are going to take some of your profits off of the table before entering in, so that you really try and take that emotional aspect out of the trade. So hopefully this video is helpful, and that you guys can gain something from it and put it towards your trade. So thank you for watching.